I love how you have my book image up there. That's awesome.
I know, it's so exciting. Well, I love that we are just now having a wonderful catch up. And instead of doing it in person, we're sharing our conversation. And that is what I love about this.
Yeah.
So it's so wonderful because Josh Levs is a dear friend of mine. Let's start with that. But he's also quite brilliant. Let's start with that. So there was a time at CNN when Josh was doing segments, and he was one of the first people on network news to be taking things from social media and looking at news from social media and reporting them. So, Josh, let's start at the beginning about your first story that really set you apart as a journalist who was using new platforms to share news.
I think what got a lot of attention was after these elections in Iran, there were massive protests. And the government there shut down all media, tried to get rid of all journalists, went after journalists. And social media became the way that the world learned about the horrors that were ongoing there. And so we had all this stuff coming on YouTube, which at the time, now it sounds like nothing, but at the time, it was a relatively new concept. And this was more than a dozen years ago. We also were getting a lot from Twitter, which is this new platform that not many people were on. And at the time, social media was proving to be a democratizing force. So we were going through tons of videos and authenticating them, and I was going through tons of tweets, and I was on the air like every hour continuously for like hours and hours and hours and hours because it was such a serious story and because this was all we could do. So that is where a lot of the attention around my use of social media began.
So fast forward 2020, people see Twitter as a news source somehow or other, which is quite unprecedented. I mean, just your observations at this point. You're a father of three, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But the role that social media has played in our psyche.
Well, it's a mix of everything. It's like any platform. It can be used for good or bad. Twitter has become just a massive, giant mess. Part of what is so disturbing about it is that because it allows anonymity, anyone can come across as being anyone or being anything. So you have all these bots that are spreading all these lies, and you have the ways misused by this administration. You have been by a political campaign. So social media, and especially in areas that anonymity is allowed, has become just a cesspool. But that doesn't mean that it's all bad either. There are still people using it in a way that democratizes life, that gives anyone a platform, that lets anyone speak out. It's just that anonymity should be extremely, extremely rare. The way that it is in journalism, you're supposed to have very good reason to say a source said. And really, we should apply that same way of thinking to the way we look at social media, that in general, if something is anonymous, we shouldn't pay much attention to it. So that's, when you read that stuff out and you get to where the real people are having real conversations, there still are good ones going on. There still are productive ones going on. But it's like anything. Bad people and people with bad intentions learn how to use it for nefarious purposes.
Josh, if you don't mind putting your audio up a bit, as sure. We navigate these virtual platforms, I can hear you, but I just want to make sure that everybody can hear you clearly.
Yeah, I'm getting closer to the mic.
Audio up. Thank you. So, Josh, amongst your many accomplishments, and there have been many, Josh worked as a journalist at NPR. He writes beautifully. He really, truly one of the most multi-talented, forward-thinking people I know. You chose to write a book called All In, around how important the father figure is in a child's life and how important it is that fathers as well as mothers are all in. So tell us more about your parenting journey, and now a father of three and homeschooling.
Oh my goodness.
Or are you homeschooling?
We are. I mean, no, the kids are having school online. So yes, it's going to go to school. It starts next week for Atlanta, where our kids go to school. So the journey began around the same time I started on air at CNN, because that's the same time I became a dad. And, we had drama in every case. Our first son, he needed major heart surgery at birth, came out of it perfect, came through perfect. And then our second son, a few years later, was born into my arms, not apparently breathing at first. And
on the carpet in your living room.
Yes, on the carpet in our bedroom. Yes. Just crazy wild stuff. And then came my daughter a few years later, and we thought, okay, this third time's the charm. Everything's going to be smooth. But instead, she and I ended up on the front page of the New York Times because I launched a battle for fair parental leave. The short version there is that the policies that we had at CNN, which is part of Time Warner, were ridiculous, but also surprisingly common, that anyone could get 10 paid weeks except a biological father who had his baby the old-fashioned way. So I tried to change it quietly internally, and nothing happened. So I launched legal action. It got all this attention. Ultimately, the company changed it, and it was better for everyone. They said it, I said it. Better across the board. But that journey showed me that there was all this support that came in when I announced that legal case. Support from women's groups and men's groups and dad blogs and mom blogs and famous women feminists. And so I went on this journey to figure out what was it that was so relevant to so many people about my case. And I came to understand that supporting men as caregivers is a crucial women's rights issue as well. Until men are equally supported as caregivers, women will never have an equal opportunity in the workplace. So I explored that issue, and HarperCollins offered me the chance to write that book, and bim, bam, boom, you got All In, which is right over your right shoulder there.
It sure is. And you can order it on Amazon and anywhere books are found. And Josh, it was particularly touching for me because when we moved from Johannesburg to Atlanta, my husband Steve played a huge role in our daughters' lives and is the person who really cooked and provided nourishing meals. And I often said I wanted to write a book called The Macho Man's Guide to Role Reversal, just because it happens sometimes deliberately, sometimes by chance. I was in New York, yes, when you could still travel to New York pre-COVID. And I think on one day I saw 7 dads with strollers and prams and babies, which you would not have seen 10 years ago.
Yeah, this is how things are changing. This is the new modern reality that men are equal caregivers. And, I was a fact checker on CNN, as you know. But even before the social media stuff, I was doing all this on-air fact checking. Politicians and pundits. And it was at that time when I became a father, I started to realize that there were all these myths about parents, about dads. In fact, dads are the most misunderstood part of the American family. So I started looking at what are the myths and what are the facts. And the facts show that men spend just as much time working on behalf of their families as moms do. And dads, the vast majority, overwhelming majority of dads, care for their kids in every major category every day of the week, or at least several days a week. All these, most black fathers live with their kids. They are on average the most involved. There are all these myths out there to the contrary. And so what we need is to normalize images like what you saw in New York. Make it completely normal for people to see a dad off caring for his kids, so we can change that Mad Men mentality that says men belong to be as leaders in the workplace and women belong as leaders.
That Mad Men mentality, as from the TV show that captured all our imagination.
Yeah, Mad Men, the TV show. It took place in the 50s, and the old idea that like the office is for men in suits and with drinks, and that the home is for women. I like to say the American ideal that way was created based on work-life balance, but the balance was that the man does all the work and the woman does all the life. And so our work structures were not built for one person to have a life at home and a job, which is what's coming to a head right now during COVID, when everyone's trying to do both. And we're realizing that we have not built, I've been saying this for years, we have not built businesses in America around an understanding of the fact that people who work also do things at home. And that's what needs to change now, with flexibility and childcare options and online support, all these things that we need in order to keep businesses productive and keep families healthy.
So Josh, I'm curious, of all, you've spoken around the country, well, actually both nationally and internationally. What is the most interesting story or moment you've had, or a dad or a mom coming up to you? And I hope I'm not putting you on the spot here, but was there a moment of surprise or somebody coming to you and say, thank you, because I've been thinking like this, and I've wondered, like a moment, a story, an interaction you had that was memorable?
All the time. This happens all the time, to the point that like I expect it now. When I first announced my legal case, all these men and women started calling me, and they were crying on the phone and telling me their stories of what they had been through. And now this happens all the time. I spoke at a major federal agency, and afterwards, one of the top people said that he and his wife have a son who has he's on the autism spectrum. He has a severe case situation.
Special needs.
Needs to go to multiple doctors a week, and that for years, and that his wife works full time, and that for years they've been trying to figure out how to do it and make it work. And afterwards, women who have worked with that man told me they have worked with him for 12 years and they didn't know any of that.
Mm.
You know, that's the norm. That keeps happening all the time. I was speaking at a child care, at a preschool up in Connecticut, the Jewish preschool in Connecticut. And before this, we had this dinner, and people at the dinner happened to run a private school, and they mentioned, we were talking about food, and they mentioned that the chef at their school makes all this delicious food. And someone else who knows that chef said, "Oh, I know him. He's a great dad." And the people who run the school said, "He has children?" And this other woman said, "He has 5 children. He's a great dad." And they said they worked with him for years. They didn't know that. Men, we don't talk about this because of fear of repercussions.
Josh, that is so true. I mean, you go out with a group of girlfriends, you know who's getting married, who's in the midst of a divorce, what's going on. I hate to say this, but I can say to my husband, "You went out with so-and-so, and is he back with his wife?" And he'll go, "I don't know. We didn't talk about that."
Oh, yeah. All the time. I do the same thing. Oh, yeah. My wife will say to me, "So what's up with him?" I'll be like, "Oh, he's good." And then she'll say, "Well, what's happening?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, he's in love." "Well, with who?" I don't remember. What's her name? I don't know.
Conditioning, how we are conditioned differently. But your work has been around really gender equality and helping people to understand each other better. Would you say that's a good definition?
Yeah. I mean, in fact, I'm always telling people we need more connectors. And if you look at my experience, I am living proof that there isn't this kind of gender war that a lot of people assume that there must be. You know, when I announced my case, women and men supported it, and women's groups bring me into institutions, to government agencies, to huge corporations all the time to give these talks about how great dads are. So, you know, people who wanted to tear us apart in America say things like there's a gender war or that feminism is somehow anti-man. It factually isn't. And if you stand for truth and justice, we really are all on the same team. And I try to help everybody see that.
So let's go back to March 12th, your children, how it really has impacted you parenting 3 children. And because you're such a conscious individual, what advice, guidance, what have you learned from this whole unprecedented time in our lives?
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because your kids and my kids are at just different points in
So different.
points in their lives. I'll tell you this. I, first of all, have been leading with gratitude every day. You know, we have everything we need. We're healthy. My business is successful. We don't have to worry in a lot of ways that other people do. The type of work I do does not require me to leave the house anymore because I'm just doing online things instead of traveling. And even when I did travel, it was only up to 4 days a month. So there's the gratitude piece that I'm leading with.
So important.
What's that?
I think it's, you know, Brene Brown said it is not joy that makes us grateful, but gratitude that makes us joyful. So thanks for reinforcing that.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, and also my youngest is 6. So fortunately, I don't have any teeny tiny ones that need around the clock staring at me. You know? Like I can tell her to go play. They can go play together, my 3 kids, or they can. We have access to a pool. Like they can go in the pool. So it doesn't. And we have loosened our screen time rules because I realized I would rather have them get too much screen time than get cabin fever and start to resent us as a family.
Oh, that's interesting. Wait, repeat that. So you're okay about the screen time?
Yeah, I mean, we still limit it, but we relaxed the screen time rules a lot. Like they're getting a bunch of it, and way more than we used to believe in them getting. But it's just us with each other, and I am wary of a cabin fever, of families driving each other crazy. I'm like, okay, it's cool for you to like go and crawl into your own experience and have some screen time. So we're doing that, but a lot of it is day by day anyway, and it is still hard, and they are going to be doing school from home, and yet we still have to get our work done. So every day I try to get enough flexibility to make it all work.
Josh, I'm going to switch subjects, and I'm going to go to chips and ice.
Cups and ice.
Cups and ice, cups and ice.
Yep.
Josh, I love friends like you because, it's you learn from each other. And I love your cups and ice story. So I'd really love it if you'd share it.
Well, first of all, you are a big part of the reason that I was even able to give that speech where I gave a TEDx talk in which I talked about this. And when I was originally asked to give a talk, I told Nadia, I said, the one story I don't know how to tell is mine. But I get a journalist, I could tell it. And so she just asked me about my experiences. And it was through that conversation that I realized this. So Cups and Ice is a reference to the sitcom Friends, best show ever. But what it stands for is this idea that if you get an opportunity, it might sound like it's just a teeny little opportunity, but you can take it and do something huge with it. And that's what I've always done throughout my career. So when I started my career on NPR, it was because I was at the local public radio station. I found a shot on air. They said, oh, okay, that wasn't horrible. Feel free to do more of these. And they thought I would do one report a month, but they didn't say that. So I started doing like 6 reports a day. And then I went onto the network 2 months later, and I never stopped, and I became an NPR journalist. And same thing.
Okay, so before we get to your advice to young journalists, let's get to link it into Phoebe and Cups and Ice.
Okay. So on Phoebe, on Friends, it was going to be Rachel's birthday, and Monica is this total control freak, and Monica insisted on organizing everything about the party, but Phoebe wanted to do something, and so Monica said, "Okay, fine, you can be in charge of Cups and Ice." Sounds like a little opportunity, right? Just bring the cups and the ice. But Phoebe was like, well, what can I do with this to make it huge? So she made the entire party cups and ice. She made
exactly.
She had snow cones. She had dry ice. She had all these kinds of ice, shaved ice. And so the whole party was cups and ice. And that's what you do. You take this little bit and you turn it into a huge opportunity for your own creativity.
I love that. And for me, that's the reality. Just the ability to look at your cups and ice and say, is my cups and ice half empty, or is it very full cups and ice?
Yeah, that too. Yeah, you're right. It's realizing that you can really see that as a glass half full. It's a situation, because it's not just this little scraggly thing that you've been tossed. It's truly a great opportunity, maybe for you to get everything you were looking for. I did the same thing on TV. So, on TV, he said, let's try. I said I wanted to be an on-air reality check guy. Big Boss said, try it on the weekend. And then I realized that the weekend is 48 hours long. So I just started doing reports from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m., both Friday and Saturday.
And Josh Levs, I have to say, you are the reason at the South African World Cup of 2010 that you said to me, Nadia, I'm seeing all these South African sayings, lekker and aish. And what do they mean? And why don't we do a segment? And I'm sorry we don't have the capability to play you all that segment right now, but look it up, Nadia Bilchik, Josh Levs. But because of that segment, I landed up doing segments every weekend. So you were so instrumental in finding the angle. That's what I appreciated about you. You found that little angle, like, what do these words mean? And for those South Africans who are watching, it was gatvol, aish, lekker, eina. And there was Josh Lev saying to me, Nadia, what is E-I-N-A, Ina? What does it mean? I said, oh, Josh Levs, eina. It's such a descriptive onomatopoeic word for like, oh, it's so. And then the other South Africanism, Josh, that I never got you was ach shame. Ach shame. And ach shame doesn't mean like you're shameful. It means like, oh, you're at home with your 3 children, they're so adorable, ach shame. Or your new puppy's so cute, ach shame. Or somebody happened, ach shame. So,
I think I remember how's it.
How's it? Josh. And believe me, on my Facebook and my LinkedIn and my Instagram and my Twitter and everywhere else that you are appearing right now, we have lots of South Africans. So how's it is a good one, because it's a combination of how are you and hello, but it's much more casual than saying, hello, Josh, how are you? It's going, how's it, Josh? And we don't say, how's it? We say, how's it? How's it?
You took that one thing and you turned it into something huge. You cups and iced it. That's exactly what you did.
I try cup and ice. Josh, so a couple of things, because, young journalists, You have really been a very self-created young journalist. Advice, guidance for them.
Okay. Number one, learn how to find hard, solid facts on your own that are not dependent on what any other news agency is saying. Um, One of the biggest things I do is I fact check things, and I can tell you that I'm very wary of saying this because I don't want to fuel ideas of fake news, which is the opposite of what the president claims. But when it comes to numbers and data in news stories, a lot of the numbers and the data are wrong, because what happens is some agency somewhere puts out a news release about a study. Some news agency writes something based on the news release. Other agencies write based on the news agency, and no one goes and looks at the original data. And I do that. I look at the raw data, if they'll give it to me, and the methodologies to see whether it's even legitimate in the first place. That kind of thing, finding hard, solid facts on your own, is number one. And number two is learn how to write well, because even if you're a broadcaster like me and like Nadia, you have to be able to write well. It will help you organize your thoughts. It's something that I learned to do partly, when I was in school, but then also through really tough, excellent editors at NPR early on. And if you have those two things, then you will get your opportunity. And when you get that opportunity, you will be ready to cups and ice it. You'll be ready to use it. Just make sure that when that opportunity comes along, you know how to find the hard, solid facts, and you know how to write them.
Oh, Josh, I could carry on talking to you forever. Just a couple of things. If anyone's interested in reaching out or needs, Josh works in a variety of capacities. So if you want to catch up on what he's doing right now, please go to
JoshLevs.com. You can see on the screen how to spell my name, JoshLevs.com. You'll see all my contact info there. Oh, and everybody on LinkedIn, if you're on right now, or even if you're not, go over and link in with me right now, right this second. Just type me in, go connect with me, and I will pick up my phone and accept you when we're done.
Excellent. Josh, so not only will they link in with you, but if anybody's looking for, somebody to talk to audiences, really big and small and anywhere, because you can now do them virtually, on how to understand each other better, how to get beyond stereotypes. And I think your work has been very instrumental in shifting a lot of perspective. So buy a donkey. Do you remember what that means, Josh?
No, but I like it. Say it again.
Buy a donkey. We always say to people, it's like buy a donkey, but buy a donkey in Afrikaans means thank you. Hambagashle, go well, go well. Hambagashle, it's like go well. It's a Zulu word for like go carefully. Oh, and there's another word that I should have taught you at the time, which was Ubuntu. And that was, Mandela came up with Ubuntu. It's like we are human through the humanity of others. By the way, Josh, have you been watching Jerusalem?
No, what's that?
Oh my gosh, please. And anybody who's watching right now will tell you. And it's Master KG, I think is his name. Chels, can you check? Is it Master KG, Jerusalem? And I've got the lyrics in front of me, but it's this phenomenal South African musician, and he's come up with the song Jerusalem. It's absolutely beautiful. And they're doing Jerusalem challenges around the world. Master KG. Master KG. But the way you say it, I don't think you say like Master KG, you say Master KG, anyway, or something specific. Okay. But if there's one thing I can share with everyone, I've been posting some of the dances. I said to my children, all I want for my birthday, which is coming up soon, is somebody to come and teach us Jerusalem. So if anyone's watching who knows the dance and who can sing, please do. Josh Levs, thank you for being all in with me.
Well, you are one of my favorite people in the entire world.
And I feel that the same. So you know what? This is what I thought. I thought, Josh, we need a catch up. Yeah. So instead of catching up just one-on-one, why not share? Because I always, as I say, I mean, obviously, if I'm going to talk deep, dark, and personal, not going to do it on an open platform. But sometimes it's just nice to say, where are you? What have you learned from this period? And what can we share with others? So, Josh, I want to tell you this quick story.
Please.
So navigating technology is a nightmare. Mm-hmm. So my daughter's 3-year-old nephew the other day got a Spider-Man bike. Okay. And he was finding it hard to ride. So he was finding it hard to ride. So the more hard he found it to ride, the more he said, I hate this bike.
Sure.
right? That's how I feel like technology. Because I've been trying to learn Adobe Connect, which is one of the hardest platforms to teach and train on.
Yeah.
But getting through it, if you can learn it, then you don't hate it so much anymore.
I spoke at Adobe, actually. You should do some work with Adobe. They're wonderful.
You loving Adobe?
No, I spoke at Adobe in Silicon Valley. I mean, I've done some work with them.
Have you done the Adobe Connect?
I not use Adobe Connect, no. But
What's your favorite platform?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. So if anyone wants to reach Josh Levs on LinkedIn.
Yeah, like I have an Instagram and you can check it out, but I don't like do a lot there. I don't really use it much, but like LinkedIn for professional stuff. And you know, with you, like you've got these videos too. That in and of itself is a great platform.
Yeah, it's just being focused. But I will tell you that All In is a wonderful book to buy for your son, son-in-law, any father you know, and any parent, in fact. I think it's more than just, it's a great gift of a book on parenting. So you can get it on Amazon and anywhere else that books are found. All In, Josh Levs, Josh Totsins. That means goodbye as well. And buy a donkey.
Buy a donkey.
Or as my wonderful German son-in-law, it's a Wiedersehen. But if you're on the phone and you say goodbye to someone, it's a Wiederhören.
A Wiederhören. Wait, what's the hamburger and lettuce one again? Hamburglasche?
Hamburgerschle. Hamburgerschle. So hamba is go. So if you want to say to someone, hamba, that means go, go, go. But if you go hamburgerschle, that means go well.
Oh, like go in peace. Hamburgerschle, Nadia Bilchik.
Hamburgerschle. What a pleasure and delight and treat to be with my friend Josh Levs and to share our afternoon. Hopefully next time in person. Bye, Josh Levs.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.